As we know, Sekiro's getting on a bit now, and being near its 6th birthday, I thought I'd put together this video on how you can make Sekiro look its best. Whether it's your first time playing or you're coming back for a replay, I have a couple of setups that should suit everyone. The way these mods work, it's very modular, so if there's something you don't like or don't want, it can be removed easily. First I'll show you the comparisons and the quality of life mods, and then we'll move on to downloading and installing. I've tried to keep spoilers to a minimum, but I do show a couple of late game areas and one later boss. Vanilla Plus uses all the mods in the video but doesn't use the lighting engine. Then the lighting engine is a different way to render the in-game lighting that's not baked, so the sky lighting is rendered more realistically, as well as improving some other elements like better shadows and ambient occlusion. There's one bug that I've noticed whilst using the graphics pro mod, and that's the fog in the distance in Fountainhead Palace, and it glitches out in the background. You'll see this in the comparisons, but this is the only issue that I've run into with this mod. And if you choose the lighting engine, just be reminded that it is in beta, so you may experience some crashes. The only consistent one I've had is when I was fighting True Monk. If you're finding that you're getting consistent crashes at one particular point, just move the files into a temp folder, go through that area or fight, and then move them all back. Enjoy. Here are the quality of life mods, just a few extra bits that are optional, that stick within the realms of vanilla. Firstly, a couple of outfit variations. Secondly is Bearded Sekiro. This can be used with any outfit mod and just makes Sekiro look a bit more scruffy. Thirdly, if you find the Sabumaru a bit stubby, this mod replaces it with Ishin's blade and it makes it slightly longer. Fourth, we have a mod that reduces the size of the kanji characters when using consumables. This is nice for reducing visual clutter, and the mod has many options to choose from. Lastly is an example of the spirit overhaul. This makes all the spirits have the same visual effect as Orin, so rather than just being ghostly blue, they have sort of colour to them, and this is what the corrupted monk looks like. Okay, so the first mod we need is Sekiro Mod Engine by Catalash. This allows us to install and run the rest of the mods. Secondly, we want FromSoftware's upgraded texture pack. Shout out to him for his excellent work across all the FromSoft games. Thirdly, if you're doing just Vanilla Plus, then you'll want the No Sharpen Filter mod by Nikolai97. This reduces the slight over sharpening that the base game has. You won't need this installed if you're using Lighting Engine, as that will use DLSS. Fourth, we have the improved graphics by GP Unity. This is basically setting the graphic param files to be higher than the max settings in-game, as well as a few other tweaks. I believe this is the mod that causes the fog bug in Fountainhead, and apart from that, I didn't see any issues in-game, and the benefits outweigh that one problem. Lastly, for the base mods, we have shadow casting light sources by DMC99. This enables shadow casting from I think most of the point light sources, as well as enemy lights like fire torches. Now if you're not using Lighting Engine, I suggest that you use this FPS Unlocker DLL from Kathy J. It's built on the EXE version, but it means that you don't have to run the extra program each time you play. This mod will allow you to unlock the frame rate and change your FOV if you want. Now on to installing the mods. Once you have everything downloaded, I'd suggest moving all the zip files into one location so they're easier to work with. Open Steam and go to Sekiro, then Manage and Browse Local Files. This will bring up the Sekiro install folder. Firstly, we want to make a new folder in the install folder called Mods. This is where we'll be placing the files that the mod engine loads. Then we want to open the mod engine zip and move the mod engine ini and the DLL file into the game folder. Once this is done, we can start adding the other mods to the mods folder. Starting with the improved graphics mod, you want to take the folders from the mod downloads and place them into the mods folder. This is important as it reads the mods using the same folder structure as the base game. Just placing the files into the mods folder will not load them. If you're installing outfit and weapon mods, some will come just as files, but these will always load from a folder called parts. So if you don't already have a folder called parts in your mods folder, just create a new one and call it parts. Once you've done this, that's all the mods installed and ready to go. Now for the FPS unlocker, we need to move the DLL file into the base game folder. Once this is done, launch the game once and then close it, and it will create an XML file that has all the settings we can adjust. Open the XML, and here you can adjust the max frame rate of the game. You can double check your resolution is correct as well and adjust if needed. Save the XML and then close it, and you're good to go for Vanilla Plus. For Lighting Engine, you'll need to head to Discord. You can use the invite link in the description. This will take you to the DS2 Lighting Engine Discord. Once you're here, navigate to Beta Releases and scroll up from the DS2 releases until you hit the latest Sekiro renderer version. To install, we want to move all the folders into the base game folder. Make sure to remove the D3, D11 DLL file and the settings XML, as Lighting Engine has its own frame rate unlocker built in. And then we want to overwrite the shader files in the mods folder. This will replace the no sharpen filter mod, as this is not required when using Lighting Engine. Next, we can make an improvement to the version of DLSS that's used in this mod. Head to Tech Power Up and download the latest version of DLSS. Then head to Nexus and grab DLSS tweaks. As the Lighting Engine mod already uses the DXGI DLL for rendering, we can't use the latest version of DLSS tweaks as it uses the same file to hook in. So what we want to do is grab the version from the 30th of Jan, and this still uses the old DLL naming and can work in tandem with the mod. Once you have DLSS tweaks downloaded, open the zip and run the enable NVIDIA SIG override. This is a reg tweak that allows it to override the current version of DLSS. Once you've done that, move the DLL, the exe and ini file into your install folder. If you want to make sure that you are using DLAA regardless of whatever the resolution setting is in-game, you can set the force DLAA to true, and this will make sure that DLAA is always loaded in-game. Then under DLSS presets, we want to change all of the presets to J to make sure that it's using the transformer model. Once this is done, we want to tell it to make sure to override the DLSS file that's in the Sekiro folder. So click Add DLL Override and navigate to the NVNGX DLSS file. Choose this and then save the settings when you're done. Now that we're in game, we're able to tweak pretty much all of the rendering settings for Lighting Engine. Press F1 to bring up the Lighting Engine menu. Once you open the menu, you'll have a few sub-menus and tabs. Here I'll run through the settings I'm using. Most things are maxed out where possible. Under swap chain and frame limiter, you can set your max frame rate. Under monitor status, you can adjust the saturation, contrast and exposure bias. If you're using HDR, you can fine tune the HDR values here as well. Under shading, quality and performance, we can set our DLSS values. Make sure the preset is set to default, and then that will use preset J that we set earlier. Currently I'm using DLAA. If you want to use quality or performance, just lower the in-game resolution and then restart the game and it will use one of those presets. If you have an AMD card, obviously you can skip all these settings and use a different AA method from the drop down. Under camera lens, you can fine tune depth of field, motion blur and film grain. I never use motion blur or depth of field, so I leave them off. You don't need to touch engine mode, as this is for dumping textures and debugging. We just need game mode for playing. Under the lighting preset tab, you get more granular tuning for global illumination, ambient occlusion and shadows. If you've made it to the end, nice one. The last couple of things I want to add is if you wanted the quality of life mods I showed, as well as all the graphics mods, some of them use the same files. But don't worry, I've made a couple of merged mod files that are linked in the description below. These are merges of improved graphics with the Spirit's visual overhaul and shadow casting with the smaller kanji. Lastly, there are two other mods that I forgot to include in the quality of life mods that I'll mention here, both by D Ziggy. First is Minimal HUD. This again removes some of the visual clutter, and as I've played for a bunch of times, I use the one that removes the enemy indicators and the vignette from crouching. This also includes the PS4 buttons, so if you're using a PlayStation controller, you can change the button layout as well, so you don't have to use the Xbox buttons. Secondly, I use remove annoying sounds, and then I just use the one that removes all the death blow and guard break noises. Hopefully you found this useful. Thanks for watching.